Right then, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the striker problem. And we're going to be talking about it more than just the striker problem, but whether or not we have the solution to that problem already at the club. Now, the duo of Hojlund and Zirkzee are not clicking. They don't look like they're capable of playing as a partnership. They don't look like they're playing as the focal point. We need goals. We don't score goals. And the trust in those two as strikers, as options, feels like it's at an all-time low. The transfer window has seen United not just not strengthen, but arguably weaken our forward and striking options. And I don't know where we're going to get the goals from. People have suggested that we look to the academy, we bring some youngsters through the ranks. At Manchester United, that's something that has often, not always, but often yielded very positive results for reinforcements. In hard times, Manchester United go to the well of Carrington and invariably find something that's worth looking at. Now, at the weekend, we saw both strikers benched for Mainoo, who is not a striker. There is obviously a clear desire from Amorim to find a replacement. He's going to have to look below the surface level of the first team and a repurposing of an existing player if he's going to find a striker. Has he already given up the possibility of Hojlund or Zirkzee playing? Was it a one-off tactical decision knowing the way Palace was going to play? Either way, it didn't work and replacements are absolutely necessary. Can Manchester United wait till the summer? I personally think not. We're going to have to find someone within the club right now. So let's talk about Chido Obi-Martin. He was signed with a tremendous amount of hype surrounding him and the potential that he came with. United picked up a real rising star from Arsenal, and his development is currently working along at a nice tidy pace. He's 17, and he is absolutely a prodigy. Physically especially. He's massive. His goal-scoring record for his age is monstrous. He seems like he's just setting about breaking new records all the time. He scored 32 goals for Arsenal's under-18s last season, which as a first year is extremely rare. It was a record-breaking number. He scored 10 times in a single game against Liverpool in what was a 14-3 win at under-16 level, where you do get quite heavily one-sided games like that frequently. He went on a 9-game scoring streak in the under-18 Premier League. Very, very positive signs. And his physical attributes are frightening for his age. He's over 6 feet, he's very well built, and it has given him a major advantage when playing against younger defenders. The pace, the off-the-ball ability, they make a mark on the opposition. His control is very good and he is very quick. And that's part of the reasons why you think he could make the step into the Manchester United first team. His play style is in line with the complete forward mould that you presume Ruben Amorim desperately wants. Both Hojlund and Zirkzee are struggle adapting to the role. Could bringing in a fresh youngster that's not had 15 different tactical iterations embedded into him be the one that's able to do what the manager wants. So that's the fours. On the other hand, I feel like it's still very early to promote him into the first team, and for several reasons. One, which should be the last thing on your mind, but it's absolutely a factor. The media are circling Manchester United like sharks at the moment, and the slightest slip up from Obi-Martin could destroy his confidence. I remember when speaking to my granddad about Munich, Manchester United at the time had won back-to-back FA Youth Cups. There was something going on at the Cliff where Manchester United were very much in the mould of knowing what was required to bring a youngster to the boil. Post-Munich, Manchester United churned through that famed youth system, but didn't really happen upon too many of the stars like they'd done the previous years. Now, when I speak to my granddad, it took me a long time to sort of understand what he was saying with this. He thinks we'd taken them out of the oven before they were cooked. Like we We threw them into the first team before they were ready. And players who would have gone on if they'd have been able to mature physically, if they'd have been able to learn the game correctly at a slower pace, he's sure some of those players would have actually made the step up and been as good as the babes that came before them. But because at 16, 17, 18, they weren't ready, but they were thrown in, they were found wanting, and they were discarded, we never got to see the true development of those players. Sometimes players have to be taken longer to mature. Their games have to be rounded out. You have to give them a slower learning curve to understand the decision making. Some phenoms are ready at 17, 18, and you just throw them in and watch what happens. But others, it can kill their confidence and it can kill their development. I think we have to protect some of these assets if and when we can. If Zirkzee and Hojlund are not going to get any worse, it might end up being a case of cut your losses with this season and focus on developing somebody like Chido behind the scenes. Don't drag him into this mess. Let him develop to the point where you can no longer hold him back, rather than putting him in a little bit early before he's truly cooked through. Hold him back to the point where you can no longer hold him back. And when you let him go, he just goes off and scores. Now, I get this argument. How can anybody score when there's no creativity in the team? There's no doing this, that, and the other. There's some validity to that as an argument, but my main gripe with Hojlund and Zirkzee is it's their all-round gameplay and involvement is nowhere near good enough. No, it was nowhere near good enough under Ten Hag. It's nowhere near good enough under Amorim. It's just not good enough. Maybe the wing-back situation improves. Maybe they start producing consistently before you bring in young talent that comes in and adapts. And yes, Chido Obi-Martin has looked impressive in the academy. Is some of that because he's a fella in a man's body playing against children? He may still not be ready for the first team yet. There is quality to him. He's been tearing it up. But that doesn't mean that you're absolutely ready to make the step up into the first team at Manchester United. Recently, he was part of the under-18 side that lost 4-0 to Manchester City. He didn't get a kick in the game. Yes, bit of a lack of service, but when he struggled to get into the game at that level, what does that tell you about his readiness to make the step up into the first team? What makes you think that's going to change just because now he's playing against first team? And as bad as that first team is, because the 18s are actually quite good. This season is a bit of a situation where you could misstep and throw somebody in and ruin them. You could find someone who's an absolute gem and is mentally strong enough to ride it out, to go and debut, to play well, and to build on that going forward. We've got a lot of young players in this team. We've got a lot of rookies in this team. Collier's getting games. Ahmad is still a rookie. Yoro is absolutely still a rookie. Can you afford a handful of more rookies in there? Now, maybe it's possible that Chido is involved in first team training and we get to see what he's like. Well, we don't get to see, but at least the manager gets to see what he's like up against the likes of De Ligt and Maguire, and obviously no longer Martinez, but against Yoro. See what he's like against Premier League defenders. Make a judgment call on him like that. Now, I presume that's probably happening already. I'd like to think it is happening already. Players can force their way into the manager's plans. But there's a difference between playing academy football and playing men's football. On pre-season tour, we saw Harry Amas do a fantastic job up against probably one of the best right wingers in world football in Mo Salah, and still hasn't been given a first team opportunity. So is he not capable of replicating that? Is he not capable of replicating what the manager wants to see? We don't know what the parameters are that the gaffer is looking for. If Harry Amas is falling short, maybe Chido Obi-Martin is falling short. I have to assume he's aware of him. I have to assume the likes of Darren Fletcher are going, boss, can you have a look at him? And if the answer's coming back that we're not seeing him, either of them actually, on the bench very often, there's probably a reason for that. Now, United will probably go out in the summer and sign a striker. I think it's an absolute necessity. Could Obi-Martin change those plans in the next 3 or 4 months? Is he the solution? For me, I would want to see him in training. And if he looks at the level in training, I don't think there's any harm in giving him 5 and 10 minutes off the bench. I really think that you can do that. I don't see negatives to doing that, to be honest with you. I think starting him in consecutive weeks, that is bringing pressure to the table, and that is bringing pressure upon him. But having him part of the first team, whether or not it's the right first team, I don't think it's as toxic as being made out. I think players can absolutely become part of the first team, can absolutely be getting minutes in training, and can absolutely be getting 5 and 10s off the bench without it affecting their future career prospects. And I think Obi-Martin is making enough of a wave that you could use it as a bit of a reward for him for the form that he's showing in the academy. Whether or not he's a solution to being a first-choice, first-team player at Manchester United, none of us have any idea. But you'll also never have any idea unless you give him an opportunity. And right now, when Mainoo in the 9 is the thing that you're thinking of, I think you could give him a go and find out what he's about. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Would you play Obi-Martin? How would you introduce him into the team? All that in the comments. See you in the next one. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.